Chapter 1. The face in the mirror isn't you until you really look. Have you ever woken up and felt like you were living a slightly faded version of yourself? Not because you're doing nothing, but because everything you're doing isn't truly yours. We repeat the same day. We follow the goals handed to us by others. We choose safety over truth. And then we wonder why something feels hollow. Why growth feels stuck. Why success never feels like ours. But here's the thing. Your life won't change until you do. Not your job. Not your partner. Not your circumstances. You. Stand in front of the mirror. Not to fix your hair. To ask yourself, the life I'm living now, did I choose it? Or did I let it happen to me? It's a confronting question. Because ownership demands honesty. It requires you to admit that the good parts and the painful parts are both yours. That the routines you resent, the habits you hide, the things you say I don't know how to change are often the very things you choose not to face. So what are you waiting for? An apology. A green light. A breakdown. A perfect wave of motivation. Let's be brutally clear, no one is coming to rescue you. And strangely, that's the best news you'll ever hear. Because it means you don't need to wait anymore. You don't need to beg for time or energy or permission. You are the permission. Most people are stuck not because they lack opportunity. They're stuck because they're waiting. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel brave. Waiting until they're no longer afraid to begin. But readiness is a lie. You don't feel ready. You become ready. And becoming ready begins with one moment of clarity. That moment is now. You don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to stop lying to yourself. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Stop pressing snooze on your dreams literally and figuratively. Say no to the thing that always pulls you off track. Keep a promise to yourself even when no one else is watching. These aren't life hacks. They're identity shifts. They're how you rebuild trust with yourself. And once you trust yourself, you start to respect yourself. And when you respect yourself, you stop quitting. You stop negotiating with weakness. You start leading. Because that's what ownership really is. Not guilt. Not blame. But the quiet, unwavering decision to say, this is my life, and I will lead it. Not someday. Not next Monday. Not when things get easier. But now. With what you have. Exactly where you are. So stand still. Look into that mirror. And don't blink. Because today, if you choose, is the day the reflection finally starts to look like someone you respect. Chapter 2. The work you avoid is where you'll find yourself again. Most people already know what they need to do. They've known it for months. Some for years. So the question is never what. It's always why not yet. Why, with all your knowing, are you still waiting? You say you're tired. You say the timing isn't right. You say you're overwhelmed. But if we're being honest, truly honest, none of that is new. You've lived tired before. You've lived confused before. And yet here you are, still pausing, still postponing, still planning a life you haven't begun to live. Maybe the delay isn't in your calendar. Maybe it's in your courage. Growth doesn't start when things are calm. It begins when you act anyway, in the chaos, in the noise, in the silence after every excuse has worn thin. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. That's the price of re-entry. That's the toll of becoming who you were meant to be. There's a moment, and maybe this is yours, where thinking about change becomes more painful than the change itself. Where waiting starts to rot your spirit. Where comfort begins to feel like slow death. Where your old life no longer fits the shape of your soul. That's when you don't rise because you feel ready. You rise because you can't bear to stay small anymore. So stand up. Not dramatically. Not for applause. Stand up because the version of you that has been shrinking is done watching. You don't need more vision boards. You don't need another TED Talk. You don't need to tell 5 more people that this time is different. What you need is silence. And movement. And a decision that doesn't beg for approval. You already know what needs to change. The clutter in your space. The conversation you've avoided. The promise you've broken to yourself 5 times this week. The habit you still pretend isn't that bad. You don't need a breakdown. You don't need burnout. You need a quiet moment of integrity. The kind that says, this ends with me. Start before you feel brave. Begin before you feel supported. Because the truth is, confidence is not a requirement. It's a reward. You earn it in the doing. In the repetition. In the ugly, imperfect attempts no one claps for. And yes, it will be hard. But so is staying stuck. And only one of those paths leads anywhere new. So ask yourself, not as a performance, but as a confrontation, what have I been avoiding that I know I must face? Don't flinch. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't turn this into another journal prompt you forget in the morning. Face it. Because it won't leave on its own. It's not a ghost. It's a door. And behind it is the life you keep saying you want. This is not about hustle. This is not about perfection. This is about becoming the kind of person who does the hard thing even when no one is watching. That's what builds character. That's what builds peace. That's what builds a life that feels earned. You don't need more time. You need better use of the time you already keep misplacing. You don't need external pressure. You need internal clarity. You don't need to be ready. You need to begin. The difference between a dreamer and a builder is a single step taken on a day like today when no one expects it, and no one forces it, and you do it anyway. Because you've realized the truth. No one is coming. But you're already here. And that's enough. Chapter 3. Your habits are quietly voting for who you'll become. Not every fall begins with a catastrophe. Sometimes, it begins with a small compromise. One unchecked hour. One innocent scroll. One just this once. And slowly, without sound, you drift away from the person you swore you'd become. No one talks about the weight of the small things. Because they're not dramatic. They don't scream. They don't collapse in a single night. But they compound. And by the time you notice the distance, you've already wandered too far into a life you didn't intend to build. If your life feels off track, it likely wasn't one decision. It was a pattern. And behind every pattern is a habit you've made peace with, a habit you never questioned. Habits are quiet architects. They lay the bricks of your future when you're not paying attention. They don't ask for permission. They just obey your past. And unless you intervene, unless you wake up, they will quietly steal the life you meant to create. So take a breath. And audit the hours. Not the ones you post online. The ones no one sees. The first 30 minutes of your day. The last 30 minutes before bed. The things you reach for when you're bored, stressed, unseen. That's where your life is actually being built. In the hidden. In the habitual. In the unconscious autopilot you call normal. You say you want clarity. You say you want progress. But if you begin your day in chaos, and end it in distraction, don't be surprised if life feels fragmented. Structure is not a cage. Structure is a signal to yourself that you're no longer available for accidental living. Don't wait for collapse to get serious. Don't wait for shame to wake up. You don't need to spiral to deserve a fresh start. All you need is a higher standard, and the courage to enforce it when no one's looking. Start boring. Make your bed. Turn off autoplay. Drink water before caffeine. Say no when you mean no. Sit with the urge instead of obeying it. Put your phone out of reach when you're working. Notice what you consume when you feel alone. These aren't productivity hacks. They are acts of self-respect. And yes, it will be hard at first. Because your old habits won't go quietly. They will bait. They will bargain. They will remind you how comfortable easy used to feel. But easy was costing you everything. Progress is not always loud. It's not always visible. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it feels like boredom. Sometimes it's a single moment when you choose discipline over desire, even when no one would know if you didn't. That's the real transformation. The quiet victories, the ones that make no noise, are the ones that build the loudest lives. So look at your routines. Not with judgment, but with honesty. Ask, what am I rehearsing every day that I would never want to become? Because that's exactly what you're becoming. Habits don't need your permission, but they require your participation. And the more automatic they become, the less intentional your life feels. But that can change. And it changes the moment you do. So here's the truth, the kind that doesn't trend but transforms. Your habits are always voting. And every day, with every choice, you are electing the future version of you. Choose well. Even if it's slow. Even if it's lonely. Even if it doesn't look like much yet. Because one day, you'll look back at a life that doesn't need explaining. A life you built quietly, precisely, patiently. And on that day, you'll be grateful that you finally cleaned up the small things before they grew strong enough to own you. Past, because the habits you keep are either building your best self or reinforcing your weaker self. You can't have both. You have to choose. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. What you need is structure. You need to design your day in a way that supports the person you want to become. Make it hard to fail. Make your environment push you forward. If you're always tempted by distraction, remove it. If you always skip workouts, prepare the night before. If you always forget your goals, put them where you can see them every day. That's what personal growth looks like, not just mindset shifts, but real practical adjustments. You need to stop saying, "This is just who I am." That's not the truth. That's just a story you've repeated so many times it's turned into your identity. But identities can be rewritten, habits can be reshaped, and life can be rebuilt. But not if you keep living on autopilot. Not if you keep choosing comfort. Not if you keep acting like change will somehow happen without effort. You already have what it takes. You've just been too distracted to see it. You've been too busy keeping your old routine going to notice how much it's costing you. And the cost is high: wasted time, low energy, lost confidence, unfulfilled potential. That adds up. And one day you'll wake up and realize you've spent years living below your capabilities, all because you didn't take the time to clean up your habits. So don't waste another day repeating the same cycle. Don't let another month go by doing what you've always done. Take back your time, reclaim your focus, break your lazy routines, and replace them with systems that work. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every good habit you build is a small act of self-respect, and every bad habit you break is a step toward freedom. Your future is built one decision at a time, one morning at a time, one choice at a time. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. They want shortcuts. They want overnight results. But the ones who win in the long run, they do the work no one sees. They stay consistent when it's boring. They show up when it's hard. They keep their habits tight because they know if they don't, those habits will tighten around them. The difference between a successful person and someone who never makes it isn't just mindset, it's daily execution. It's having a system. It's having routines that work even when you don't feel like working. It's waking up and following through, not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. And if you want to live a life you're proud of, it starts right here, with what you do when no one's watching, with what you repeat every day, with how you respond to discomfort. So stop waiting for the right moment. This is the moment. You already know what needs to go. You already know what's not working. Now it's on you to fix it. Start small, start now, start with the habits that shape your day, because once those change, everything else will follow. Control your habits, or your habits will control you. And once they do, they'll decide your life for you. Don't let that happen. Take your power back. Choose discipline. Choose structure. Choose actions that help you grow. This is your life, and it's time to start living like it matters. Chapter 4, Choose Growth, even when comfort feels easier today. Most people never grow because comfort is too easy to choose. It's familiar. It's safe. It gives you short-term relief. But what it doesn't give you is progress. What it doesn't build is strength. You can't move forward by staying where it's easy. You can't become your best self by staying the same. Every day you're faced with a choice to take the path that stretches you or the one that keeps you the same. And most of the time, the one that stretches you is the one you don't feel like choosing. But it's the one that matters the most. Growth is not supposed to feel good at the start. That's what makes it growth. It's uncomfortable. It's inconvenient. It demands more from you than you're used to giving. But if you only do what feels easy, you'll never know what you're really capable of. You'll stay stuck in the same patterns, wondering why life isn't changing. The answer is simple. Life doesn't change unless you do. You have to want growth more than you want relief. And that's hard because comfort is always close by. It tells you to take the day off. It tells you to try later. It tells you that right now isn't the right time. But growth doesn't work on your feelings. It works on your choices. The people who grow aren't the ones who wait for the perfect moment. They're the ones who act in spite of discomfort. They're the ones who show up when it's hard, who keep going when it's boring, who stay committed when it's not exciting anymore. You don't build a better life by accident. It takes decisions that go against what's easy. It takes doing what your future self will thank you for, even when your current self resists it. That means waking up early when your body wants more sleep. That means speaking up when staying quiet is safe. That means pushing yourself when you'd rather take it slow. You grow when you put pressure on your limits. You grow when you stop giving into comfort. Comfort feels good right now, but it robs you of what could be. It delays your progress. It keeps your goals at a distance. It makes your potential harder to reach. And the longer you live in comfort, the harder it gets to step out of it. That's why you have to train yourself to lean into the hard things. Not once, but every day. Make it a habit. Make it your standard. Start choosing what grows you, not what soothes you. Because comfort doesn't develop your mind. It doesn't strengthen your focus. It doesn't teach you anything new. Growth does. Growth forces you to learn. Growth sharpens your skills. Growth wakes you up. Growth makes you uncomfortable, but it also makes you better. When you avoid growth, you also avoid change. You keep repeating the same day with different excuses. And over time, you build a life that looks okay on the outside but feels empty on the inside. 'Cause deep down you know you've been playing it safe. Deep down you know you've stopped challenging yourself. That creates frustration. That creates regret. And regret doesn't come from failure, it comes from knowing you didn't give it your all. Choosing growth means taking the road that asks more from you. It means setting higher standards. It means saying no to things that waste your energy. It means doing the work, even when there's no reward yet. And most importantly, it means being honest with yourself. Are you really pushing yourself, or are you just going through the motions? Are you living up to your potential, or are you making excuses for why you're not? The truth is, you know what needs to be done. You know the changes you've been avoiding. You know the actions that would make a difference. But comfort has made it easy to delay. It's made it easy to settle. It's made it easy to pretend that you're fine where you are. But if you're not growing, you're shrinking. There is no standing still. Time is still moving. Life is still moving. And if you don't move with it, you get left behind. So what does growth look like today? Maybe it means having the hard conversation. Maybe it means getting serious about your health. Maybe it means sticking to your goals, even when motivation is gone. Maybe it means cutting off distractions. Maybe it means spending less time talking and more time doing. Growth looks different for everyone, but the feeling is always the same. It's uncomfortable, it's stretching, and it's worth it. You don't have to do everything at once. You just have to stop doing nothing. Pick one area and start there. Push yourself just a little more than you did yesterday. Then keep going. Don't look for shortcuts. Don't expect it to be fun every day. Just commit to the process, because results don't come from what you do once in a while. They come from what you do consistently. And yes, you'll be tired some days. You'll want to go back to the easy path. You'll have thoughts telling you to take it slow. But remember this, ease is a short-term win with long-term consequences. Growth is a short-term struggle with long-term rewards. The struggle won't last forever, but the results will. When you grow, you feel alive. You start to respect yourself. You start to see new possibilities. You start to realize how strong you really are. That's what makes the discomfort worth it. That's what keeps you going. And the more you choose growth, the more it becomes your default setting. You stop looking for ways out. You start looking for ways through. If you want to live a life you're proud of, you can't keep choosing comfort. You can't keep waiting for things to be easier. You have to rise. You have to level up. You have to become someone who shows up no matter what. That's where success lives. That's where fulfillment lives. That's where your best self is hiding behind the choices that scare you, behind the actions that feel uncomfortable. Don't let today be another day you play small. Don't let comfort steal another chance from you. Decide right now that you're done settling. Decide right now that you're done delaying. Growth is a choice. And it's a choice you have to make daily. Not just once, not just when it's exciting, but every single day. Your life won't change in one big moment. It'll change in a series of small decisions, decisions that seem simple but shape everything, decisions to get up, to start, to push, to stay in it. That's the path to growth. That's the path to becoming your best self. So take it, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because the hard road is the one that leads somewhere. The easy one just brings you back to where you started. This is your time. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today, right now. Make the hard choice. Think growth. Do what pushes you. Do what stretches you. And when your mind looks for the easy way out, remind yourself comfort won't change your life. Growth will. Choose it. Live it. Become it. Chapter 5. Hold yourself accountable when no one else does. The real test of your growth is what you do when nobody's watching. When there's no applause, no recognition, no one asking if you followed through. That's when your habits, your character, and your mindset are exposed. Anyone can act strong in front of a crowd. Anyone can say the right things when they're being watched. But the moment you're alone, the moment the pressure is off, that's where the truth shows up. That's when accountability matters most. And if you don't hold yourself to a high standard in those quiet moments, you'll keep falling short of the person you say you want to become. If you want to be someone who actually makes progress, you have to stop waiting for someone else to check in on you. Stop expecting people to push you. Stop hoping someone will fix your habits for you. It doesn't work that way. Progress is your job. Your standards are your responsibility. If you say you want change, Prove it with what you do in silence. Prove it with your effort when no one's giving you a deadline. That's how real transformation happens. Accountability isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's about telling yourself the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Did you really do what you said you would do? Did you give your full effort? Did you follow through on the plan you set for yourself? Not just once, not just when it was easy, but every time you promised yourself you would. When you hold yourself to that level, something changes inside you. You stop making excuses. You stop pretending. You stop lowering your expectations. And you start becoming the kind of person who lives with discipline. You don't need a boss to tell you to show up. You don't need a friend to remind you to stay consistent. You don't need a coach hovering over you every day. You need to become someone who leads yourself, someone who takes ownership of their time, their actions, and their attitude. Because once you do that, you become unstoppable. You don't depend on motivation. You don't crumble when no one's cheering for you. You keep showing up because you said you would. The reason most people stay stuck is because they only perform when there's pressure. They work hard when someone is watching. They show up when it's urgent. But when it's just them, they let things slide. They relax their effort. They delay their goals. They break their own rules. That's why their confidence is low, because deep down they know they can't trust themselves. They know they're not following through. If you want to feel stronger mentally, start keeping your word to yourself, not to impress others, not to earn praise, but because you've made a decision to live with discipline. Start tracking your progress. Start noticing where you fall off. Don't make it emotional. Don't blame your past. Just get honest. Where are you cutting corners? Where are you slacking? Where are you making promises and not keeping them? The standard you accept when you're alone is the standard that defines your life. Raise it. Don't lower it because no one else is looking. Don't compromise because it's more comfortable. Push yourself to stay aligned with your goals, no matter how tired you are, no matter how long it takes. That's how confidence is built. That's how you earn your own respect. And once you respect yourself, everything else gets easier. Your focus sharpens. Your energy increases. Your goals feel real. Because now you know you're the one who makes it happen. Most people spend their lives waiting to be led, waiting for direction, waiting for someone to tell them what to do next. That keeps them passive. That keeps them stuck. But if you want to lead your life, truly lead it, you have to start acting without being told. You have to take initiative. You have to wake up each day and decide, this is what needs to be done, and I'm doing it. You won't always feel like doing the work. That's normal. You won't always feel proud of your effort. That's part of the process. But the goal is progress, not perfection. You're not here to be flawless. You're here to be accountable. You're here to grow. You're here to break your own cycle and rebuild stronger. And that takes consistency. It takes honesty. It takes a willingness to be uncomfortable for the sake of something greater. Accountability starts in the smallest details. It starts with showing up when you said you would, finishing what you start, turning off distractions when it's time to focus, saying no to the easy path when you know it's not helping you. These aren't dramatic changes. They're subtle, but they matter, because over time these little decisions create a new version of you, a version that's sharp, a version that's reliable, a version that doesn't need to be pushed because you've already made the decision to lead yourself. And you don't need to shout about your progress. You don't need to post about it. You just need to be about it, quietly, consistently. Let your actions speak louder than anything you say. Let your results be the proof. You'll notice the shift. You'll start feeling more in control, more grounded, more certain, because you're not relying on outside pressure to move forward. You've built the discipline to move on your own. That kind of strength can't be bought. It can't be borrowed. It can only be built. And it's built in the quiet moments, the moments where nobody else sees, the moments where you're tempted to slack off, the moments where you have to choose between the temporary relief of giving in and the long-term reward of staying disciplined. If you want to be proud of your life, don't base your actions on how you feel in the moment. Base them on who you've decided to become. That decision needs to guide you every day, in everything, not because it's easy, but because it's right. The more you follow through, the more powerful you become. The more you keep your word, the more trust you build with yourself. You don't need to be told what to do anymore. You already know what you need is to stop running from the responsibility. You need to take that pressure and use it. Use it to sharpen your focus. Use it to raise your standard. Use it to stop living like effort is optional, because it's not. Effort is the price you pay for growth. And here's the truth, if you can't hold yourself accountable, no amount of advice will change your life, No program, no mentor, no motivation video, nothing will work if you don't start holding yourself to a higher standard. You are the foundation. Your actions decide the direction. Your habits decide the pace. Your choices decide the results. It's all on you. And that's not a burden. That's a gift. That means you're in control. You don't have to wait to become someone worth respecting. Start with today. Start by doing the things you said you would. Start by owning your mistakes. Start by correcting your behavior. Start by staying consistent, even when it's quiet, even when it's hard, even when no one else is paying attention. Because the person you become in the dark is the person who shines the brightest when the light comes. That's the kind of strength that lasts. That's the kind of discipline that separates you. And that's what success is really built on, not talent, not chance, but personal accountability every single day, starting now. Chapter 6. Act like the person you want to become. You don't become your best self by waiting. You become it by acting like it. Most people have a version of themselves in their mind, someone stronger, more focused, more disciplined, more respected. They talk about becoming that version someday, but someday never comes unless you begin to act like that person today. It's not about faking anything. It's about aligning your actions with your intentions. If you want to grow, you must behave like the person you're aiming to be, not once, not when it's convenient, but every single day, especially when it's hard. You already know who you want to be. That version is clear to you, the one who follows through, the one who keeps their word, the one who doesn't cut corners. But if your behavior still looks like the old you, the one who delays, avoids, makes excuses, then nothing will change. You can't think your way into becoming someone else. You have to act it out. And that means making decisions before you're fully ready, showing up before you feel prepared, and carrying yourself with the kind of respect and discipline that version of you would demand. Start with how you carry yourself, that version of you that you admire. How do they start the day? How do they speak? How do they walk into a room? How do they handle pressure? Begin practicing those behaviors right now. Don't wait to feel qualified. Qualification comes from consistency. The only way to close the gap between who you are and who you want to be is through action. That means showing up differently. If the future you is someone who's calm under pressure, start training that calmness today. If the future you is someone who works with discipline, stop negotiating with your laziness. If the future you is someone who gets things done early, stop saying you'll start tomorrow. Behavior builds belief. The more you practice the habits of the person you admire, the more natural they become. Every moment is a chance to make a different choice. You're either strengthening the version of you that stays stuck or the version of you that rises. There is no neutral ground. So ask yourself, who do I want to be today? And then prove it with your choices. Prove it by how you respond to stress. Prove it by how you manage your time. Prove it by how you treat your responsibilities. This isn't about pretending. It's not about acting perfect. It's about building alignment. You say you want to be someone better. Great. Then live like it, dress like it, speak like it, think like it, move like it. It's not about showing off. It's about living with intention. If the person you're becoming values discipline, then make it your rule. If they value focus, protect your attention. If they value health, change what you eat and how you move. And don't just wait for the big moments. The transformation happens in the little ones, the 10-minute decisions, the daily routines, the repeated responses to stress, the actions that feel invisible to others but build identity inside you. That's where real change lives. Not in what you tell others, but in how you quietly lead yourself through your day. You won't feel like it most days. That's normal. But growth isn't about feelings, it's about direction. If you know where you're headed, stop asking yourself how you feel about it. Start asking what needs to be done. The version of you that wins doesn't check how motivated they are. They check how disciplined they're becoming. The longer you delay acting like that future version of you, the longer you delay becoming them. And no one else is going to do that work for you. No one else will come along and make the transformation happen. You have to become your own driver. You have to wake up and decide that today, again, you're going to carry yourself like that person, even when you're tired, even when it feels pointless, even when no one notices, especially then, because something happens when you keep showing up like that. You start building belief. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's just trying. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. And when that shift happens, your energy changes. Your words carry weight. Your decisions become sharper. Your life starts matching the one you imagine. And the people around you begin to notice something different, not because you told them, but because you became it. The future version of you is not found, it's created. And it's created one habit at a time, one mindset shift at a time, one difficult decision at a time. You can read all the books. You can watch all the content. But until you start acting like that person, it's all just theory. It only becomes real when you live it out. And this takes discipline. It takes self-awareness. It takes you being willing to say, I'm not there yet, but I'm going to live like I am. That means stepping into rooms with confidence even when you feel unsure. That means speaking up with clarity even when your voice shakes. That means making choices that stretch you, not shrink you, because that's what your future self would do. You're not stuck. You're not too late. You're not behind. You're just one committed decision away from shifting everything. But it starts with you taking responsibility for your direction. It starts with you no longer identifying with your past. It starts with you aligning your actions with your potential, not your fears. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting to feel ready. You're ready when you decide to act like it. Start measuring your days by how aligned your actions are with the future you want. Did you move like someone who's growing? Did you speak like someone who values their voice? Did you manage your time like someone who's serious about their goals? That's how you track progress, not just by results, but by alignment. And yes, it will feel like a stretch at first. That's the point. You're breaking away from who you've been. You're interrupting the cycle of settling. You're replacing automatic responses with intentional decisions. It takes effort. It takes self-control. But it also builds something that no one can take from you, a reputation with yourself. And once you trust yourself, you no longer need external validation. You no longer need people to push you. You become your own standard. The shift you're looking for is not going to appear out of nowhere. It's going to come from the way you carry yourself today. Right now, you can keep acting like the old version and reliving the same outcomes, or you can step into a new level, the one that reflects who you know you can be. And it all starts with your next move. Make it count. Act like the person you want to become, because you're the only one who can. Chapter 7. Drop the excuses and take real steps forward. You either move forward or you stay stuck. There's no middle ground. And what keeps most people stuck isn't lack of potential. It's the excuses they keep using to stay where they are. The reasons sound believable. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'll start next week. I'm waiting for the right moment. But the truth is, excuses are just delays in disguise. They give you a way to avoid effort without feeling guilty. They sound like protection, but they quietly steal your progress. You can't keep holding onto excuses and expect your life to move forward. At some point, you have to face the reality that nothing is going to change until you stop justifying where you are. You can explain why you haven't started. You can explain why things are tough. But explaining doesn't create results. Only action does. And the longer you allow your excuses to speak louder than your goals, the longer you'll live below your potential. Every time you give an excuse, you hand away control. You tell yourself that something outside of you is responsible for your lack of movement. But that mindset doesn't build anything. It doesn't help you grow. It doesn't make you stronger. It makes you reactive instead of responsible. It turns you into someone who waits instead of someone who leads. If you want change, if you want to become better, then the excuses have to go. Not tomorrow. Not when it's easier. Now. Excuses are safe. They give you a way to protect your pride. Because if you never fully try, you never have to fully fail. But that's also the reason you stay stuck. You're protecting the version of yourself that doesn't grow. You're holding back because you're afraid of what might happen if you actually put in the work, and it doesn't go as planned. But nothing is worse than living with the regret of never trying. That regret stays longer than any fear ever will. You don't need to wait until conditions are perfect. That date isn't coming. The house won't suddenly get quiet. The schedule won't magically open up. The motivation won't always show up on time. What you need is to start with what you have. Take the first step. Clean up one part of your life. Stick to one simple rule. Make one strong decision. Movement creates momentum. And the only way to build momentum is to take a real step forward, not a plan, not a thought, a step. People will always find a reason why they can't. But that's not what builds progress. You build progress by finding a way to start anyway, even if it's small, even if it's awkward, even if it's not perfect. Because once you begin, your mindset starts to shift. You stop seeing the problem. You start looking at the possibilities. You stop focusing on what's missing. You begin to see what's available. Start being honest with yourself. Ask the tough questions. What excuse do I keep repeating? What story am I still hiding behind? What patterns have I normalized that are keeping me stuck? And then get clear about what needs to be done. Not what you feel like doing. Not what's easy, but what needs to be done. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need everything figured out. You need to move. You need to stop telling yourself you'll try later and start proving that you're serious now. Because the longer you sit with excuses, the heavier they get. They start shaping your identity. They start sounding like truth. And pretty soon, you forget what you're capable of. Not because you're not capable, but because you've stopped putting yourself in a position to grow. Your habits are a reflection of your priorities. If you say you want to improve, but your actions say otherwise, something's off. You can't say you want progress and keep living like it doesn't matter. You can't keep doing what's comfortable and expect new results. Progress comes with a price, and that price is the end of your excuses. Make a decision today that you're done explaining yourself to yourself. No more "I didn't have time." No more "I wasn't in the mood." No more "I'll do it later." Those phrases kill more dreams than failure ever could. Be the kind of person who moves forward anyway. Be the kind of person who doesn't need perfect conditions to make real progress. And don't confuse being busy with being effective. Sometimes the excuse is masked as productivity. You're doing a lot, but not the things that matter. You're staying active, but you're avoiding the hard things. If you really want to grow, face the uncomfortable areas. Tackle what you've been avoiding. Go straight into what feels difficult, because that's where your growth is hiding. You don't need a full roadmap. You just need one clear action and the courage to take it. You need to stop recycling the same plans that never turn into progress. And you need to stop forgiving yourself for quitting before you even begin. Be patient with the outcome, but be relentless with the action. Keep moving. Keep adjusting. Keep taking steps. And most importantly, stop making excuses that protect the version of you that isn't growing. Nothing changes until you do. Your life is not waiting on a perfect day. It's waiting on your decision to stop delaying your effort, to stop protecting your comfort, to stop thinking that next week will feel easier than today. It won't. The work will still be there. The time will still be limited. The distractions will still show up, but you'll be stronger, because now you're not depending on ideal conditions. You're depending on your commitment. There's freedom on the other side of your excuses. Freedom to finally move. Freedom to build momentum. Freedom to grow into someone who doesn't settle. But to reach that, you have to let go of the stories that keep you small. You have to stop making your challenges an excuse to do nothing. Start turning them into a reason to rise. Use the pressure. Use the frustration. Use the fact that you're tired of starting over as fuel to keep moving. You've been waiting long enough. You've had enough time to think about it. Now it's time to act like it matters. And it starts with a simple rule: no more excuses. From this moment forward, if something needs to be done, you do it, not because it's fun, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. That's how real progress is made. That's how your future is built. And that's how you become the person you were meant to be. One decision, one step, one day at a time, all without excuses. Chapter 8. Use your time better instead of wasting it. Time is not something you get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can lose money and make it again. You can miss an opportunity and wait for another, but time that doesn't come around twice. That's why how you use your time says everything about how serious you are about your life. You can't talk about goals while wasting half your day on things that don't move you forward. You can't say you want change and keep using your time like it doesn't matter. Because the truth is, your life is the sum of how you spend your hours. Most people don't run out of time, they waste it. Not in huge ways all at once, in small ways that add up. 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there, scrolling through nonsense, talking about things that don't matter, putting off what should have been done today. Time slips away quietly. You don't even notice until you look up one day and wonder where the last 6 months went. That's why it's so important to start treating your time like it matters, because it does. Using your time better doesn't mean filling every second, it means being intentional. It means knowing what matters and cutting out what doesn't. It means stopping yourself when you drift into distraction. It means having a plan and sticking to it, even when you're tempted to waste another hour. Because here's the reality: no one is coming to manage your time for you. No one's going to hold your hand and keep you focused. That's on you. And if you don't control your time, something else will. Distractions will, laziness will, comfort will. You have to decide, do you run your time, or does your time run you? Every day gives you the same 24 hours. The question is, how much of that are you giving to things that serve your future? How much of that are you using to build something you'll be proud of? If you're honest with yourself, you already know the answer. You know where you're wasting it. You know what you do to avoid the hard stuff. You know what pulls your attention away from the things that matter. And the fix doesn't require magic, it just requires discipline. Start with structure. Give your day a shape. Decide what hours belong to your goals, your growth, your responsibilities, and then protect those hours. Don't just drift into your day and hope you get to everything. That leads to nothing but frustration. You need to lead your time. Take charge of it. Break it down. Know what you're working on and why. Because clarity is what cuts out waste. If you don't know what you're doing, it's easy to do nothing. Look at the first hour of your day. That hour is powerful. It sets the direction. If you're using it for distractions, your focus will suffer all day long. If you're using it to align with your purpose, everything else becomes easier. The same goes for the last hour of your day. It prepares you for tomorrow. It clears your mind. It helps you reflect and reset. Use it well, and you'll feel more in control. Waste it, and you'll feel like you're always playing catch up. This isn't about being perfect with your time. It's about being better, a little better each day. That adds up. 10 wasted minutes today turns into hours of lost progress in a week. But 10 minutes of focused effort each day turns into momentum. You don't need to flip your whole schedule overnight. Start small. Pick one part of your day and improve it. Get consistent. Then move to the next. Keep adjusting until your time starts working for you. And let's be honest, you know what wastes your time. You know the habits, the distractions, the people, the thoughts. Stop pretending you don't. Stop justifying it. Stop acting like you have endless hours to give away. You don't. Every hour you give to something meaningless is an hour you're not giving to something important. You have to care enough about your future to protect your time from your present laziness. That's the real shit. And once you start using your time better, everything changes. You feel lighter. You stop rushing. You stop feeling like you're behind. You make progress. You can see it. You build trust with yourself. You stop ending each day wondering where the time went, and you start ending it knowing you moved forward, even if just by a little. Most people spend more time avoiding effort than it would take to actually make progress. That's the trap. Wasting time often feels easier in the moment, but it costs more in the long run. Lost time creates stress. It creates guilt. It piles up until even small tasks feel like a mountain. And once you're in that cycle, it gets harder to move. But you can break that cycle. You can take back control. And it starts with being ruthless about what gets your time. You don't owe your time to everything that asks for it. You don't have to respond to every message. You don't have to be available for every request. You have a right to say no. You have a right to protect your focus. You have a right to prioritize your own growth, because if you don't, no one else will. Look at your screen time. Look at how many hours go into things that give you nothing back. Then ask yourself, what would happen if I used just half that time on my goals, on my mindset, on my health? You already have the time. You just need to use it differently. And that starts with a decision to stop drifting, a decision to stop letting the clock run your life, a decision to show up with purpose. Using your time better also means knowing when to rest. Rest is not wasting time if it's intentional. You need recovery. You need moments of stillness. But you don't need to escape from your life all day long. There's a difference between rest and avoidance. One rebuilds you, the other delays your growth. Learn to know the difference. You don't need to be busy every hour. You need to be deliberate. Even time off can be valuable when it's chosen with intention. But wasting time out of habit, that's what steals your progress. That's what eats away at your discipline. So don't fill your day with noise, fill it with actions that count. Time doesn't slow down for anyone. It doesn't pause for your distractions. It doesn't care about your feelings. It just keeps moving. And you have to decide if you're going to move with it or let it pass you by. The people who win are not always the smartest. They're the ones who learned how to manage their hours. They show up on purpose. They get things done. They build routines that serve them, and they don't waste time on things that don't matter. That's your next level, not more effort, better effort, not more hours, better use of your hours. Don't chase busy. Chase results. Keep your time clean. Keep it focused. Keep it aligned with who you want to become. Because once time is gone, you can't rewind it. You can't buy it. You can't borrow more. You either used it well, or you lost it. And that's the truth most people ignore until it's too late. Don't be one of them. Start today, not next week, not after the next distraction. Start now. Use your time like your life depends on it, because it does. Chapter 9. Be honest about what's holding you back now. Change doesn't start with more effort, it starts with more honesty. If you really want to grow, you have to be willing to face what's holding you back, not later, not when it's convenient, but right now. Most people say they want to improve, but they avoid the hard truth. They stay busy. They stay distracted. They blame outside pressure. They look for new plans. But none of that works if you're not willing to admit what's really in the way. You can't build a better life while ignoring the things that keep pulling you down. Being honest isn't about beating yourself up. It's not about shame. It's about facing what's real so you can finally do something about it. Maybe you've been hiding behind your comfort zone. Maybe you've been making decisions that are easy instead of necessary. Maybe you've been lying to yourself about how consistent you really are. That kind of truth can sting, but it's also the only place where real change begins. You already know what's been slowing you down. You've felt it. You've seen it in the results you're not getting. You've heard it in the excuses you repeat. And the longer you avoid the truth, the longer you'll keep circling the same problems. You can't move forward if you're still dragging around the same patterns. You can't break through if you won't admit what you've been protecting. Sometimes it's pride. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's just a lack of discipline. But whatever it is, it's yours to face. The strongest people aren't the ones who have it all figured out. They're the ones who are willing to face what's broken. They're not scared of the truth, they use it. They sit with it. They let it guide their next move. You can't get stronger if you keep lying about your weaknesses. You can't fix what you refuse to see. That's why self-honesty is the foundation of personal growth. It's easy to point the finger. It's easy to say things aren't working because of your job, your family, your past, your schedule. But you have to be willing to ask yourself, what part of this is on me? What choices have I made that I keep pretending don't matter? What habits have I built that are quietly wasting my potential? You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to stop hiding from the questions. Maybe you've gotten used to being distracted. Maybe you've been telling yourself you're trying, but deep down you know you're avoiding the real work. Maybe you've convinced yourself you're too busy when really you're just scared to commit. That's not weakness. That's being human. But it doesn't mean you stay stuck. It means you finally decide to do something different. Being honest means admitting that not everything you're doing is working. It means facing the things you've avoided. It means recognizing that some of your routines, some of your relationships, some of your beliefs they aren't helping you. And even if they used to, they're not anymore. Growth means outgrowing excuses, outgrowing patterns, outgrowing the version of you that keeps playing it safe. And it takes courage to do that. It takes strength to look at yourself without filters. It's easier to pretend. It's easier to say you're fine. But nothing changes in denial. Change only comes when you choose truth over comfort, when you stop making excuses, when you stop delaying, when you say, this part of me needs to improve, and I'm not running from it anymore. This isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. Most of what holds people back isn't complexity, it's clarity. They don't know what to fix because they're not being real about what's broken. They think they need more motivation. They think they need a new system. But what they need is to face what they already know they've been ignoring. Sometimes it's fear of failure. Sometimes it's not wanting to be judged. Sometimes it's a comfort in staying where things are familiar, even if it's not fulfilling. But if you want to grow, you have to break that pattern. You have to stop avoiding the discomfort of truth, and you have to stop waiting for someone else to call it out for you. You already know. Now you act on it. Ask yourself right now, what have I been pretending not to see? Where am I not giving my best effort? What am I still blaming that I need to take responsibility for? If you can answer those questions honestly, you're already ahead of most people, because the truth is hard to face. But once you do, the path forward becomes a lot clearer. You can't lie to yourself and expect your life to work. So stop pretending your habits aren't the problem, if they are. Stop acting like time is your enemy when you know you've been wasting it. Stop saying you don't know where to start when deep down you do. You're just afraid to begin. That's where the real shift happens, not in doing more, not in waiting longer, and finally being honest with yourself about why you've been stuck. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have everything under control. You just need to stop running from the part of you that needs to grow up, because that part is not going away. It keeps showing up in your thoughts, in your choices, in the outcomes you're tired of getting. It will stay there until you deal with it. That means being more disciplined. It means choosing better routines. It means letting go of behaviors that keep you small. It means doing the hard thing when the easy thing is available, because the person you're becoming needs a different version of you, one that stops hiding, one that faces the truth, one that's not scared to change direction. You don't need a restart. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to stop lying to yourself about what's in the way. Face it, name it, deal with it. And once you do, you'll be surprised how quickly progress starts to show up, because now you're working with clarity. You're no longer wasting energy keeping up the act. You're focused. You're clean. You're honest. And that's when you become dangerous, in the best way. You can't fix what you don't face. You can't grow through what you won't admit. You can't win with a strategy that's built on. No. Get real. Stay real. Hold yourself to a higher standard, not because someone told you to, but because you've decided that you're no longer available for a life that's built on excuses. That's your power. That's your turning point. That's the start of a real transformation, not in doing more things, in doing the right things. And the right things only become visible when you're honest enough to clear away the noise. So be real with yourself, not once, every day. Ask better questions, give honest answers, face your own patterns, and then start rebuilding from there, brick by brick, truth by truth, action by action. That's how you take your life back. That's how you become your best self. It starts with honesty. Not later. Right now. Chapter 10, Proof Through Action that change starts with you. Change doesn't begin when you talk about it. It doesn't begin when you plan it. It doesn't even begin when you believe in it. Change begins when you take action, not just once, not just when you feel inspired, but every single time you choose discipline over delay, progress over comfort, and effort over excuses. If you want your life to look different, you have to act like it matters. You have to stop waiting for outside forces to shift and start becoming the person who shifts everything from within. You've heard enough. You've seen enough. Now it's about proving it with what you do, not what you say. You can't keep blaming your past, your environment, or your situation. You don't need a better background. You need better behavior. You don't need more time. You need better use of the time you already have. You don't need anyone to come fix your life. You need to take full ownership and prove that you're capable of leading it yourself. Action is the evidence. Without it, everything else is just noise. Without it, all your words, dreams, and intentions stay stuck in your head and never turn into reality. The people who make real change are not the ones with the perfect plan. They're the ones who take responsibility and start. They don't wait for the right mood or perfect motivation. They create momentum through consistent behavior. They choose to lead themselves when it would be easier to wait for someone else to push them. That's what separates those who stay the same from those who transform. It's not their resources. It's not their luck. It's the way they move when no one's watching. It's the way they carry themselves when no one claps. It's the decisions they make when the only accountability is the voice inside their head. You don't prove change through talking about what you'll do someday. You prove it through the habits you follow today. You prove it through getting up earlier when you said you would, through completing the tasks you set for yourself, through choosing healthy actions when it's easier to stay lazy. You show yourself and the world that your standards are no longer negotiable. And when that shift happens, you start to trust yourself, because you're no longer relying on hope. You're building results from consistency. There's no shortcut for becoming your best self. It's a decision followed by thousands of small choices that reinforce it. It's waking up and acting in alignment with the life you say you want. It's doing the hard thing without needing to be convinced. It's following through without needing a reward. When your actions line up with your values, you begin to build identity. You begin to walk with purpose. You begin to stop chasing motivation and start producing progress. Change doesn't need permission. It needs a plan and the courage to follow through. That means getting serious about your time, getting focused on your priorities, getting ruthless with your distractions. Not because it's trendy, but because you know what's at stake. You've wasted enough days trying to find the easy way. Now you know the only way is to work your way through it. And this isn't about perfection. You'll have setbacks. You'll miss a day. You'll fall short. That's not failure, that's feedback. The goal is not to never mess up. The goal is to never quit, to get back on track the moment you realize you've drifted, to stay committed even when the results are invisible. Because what builds strength is not instant payoff. It's the quiet days when you stay disciplined anyway. The difference between you now and the version of you that has everything you want is not ability, it's behavior. And behavior is something you can change, starting now. You don't need to wait until next week. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need a full plan. You need to act in alignment with who you want to be. That means choosing progress over pride. It means taking the first step even when you're unsure. It means proving to yourself that your word matters. Your future isn't built by luck, it's built by patterns of showing up, patterns of thinking clearly, patterns of removing what's not helping and reinforcing what is. That's how you create a life you're proud of, not through one big move, but through steady, consistent action that you repeat until it becomes your new normal. You've already waited long enough. You've already made enough excuses. It's time to prove that you mean it, not by writing it down, not by telling your friends, but by changing how you show up. You don't need the world's permission. You just need your own. You need to draw the line and say, this is the version of me I no longer support. This is where it changes. And that change doesn't need to be dramatic. You don't need to flip your whole life overnight. You need to stack one good decision on another. Get clear on what matters. Eliminate what distracts. Show up even when it's hard. Do the work even when it's quiet, and stay consistent even when it's not exciting. Every decision is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Every action either reinforces your old identity or helps create a new one. And when you keep choosing what's hard but necessary, your confidence grows. You stop needing to be pushed. You start pushing yourself. You stop living on potential. You start living with results. You don't change your life in theory, you change it in practice, through your routine, through your habits, through your mindset, through the way you speak about your goals, through the way you manage your mornings, through the effort you give when no one would blame you for quitting. That's what real power looks like, not loud, not dramatic, just disciplined, just consistent, just honest. You stop pretending and start proving. You stop waiting and start building. You stop blaming and start owning, because you've realized that change doesn't come to those who talk the most. It comes to those who act the most, who commit the most, who stay the longest. You've got the choice, keep playing small and explaining your limits, or start rising and acting like change is your job, because it is. You are the only one who can lead this shift. No one else is responsible. No one else is in control. You are. And the more you act like it, the more everything around you starts to respond. So don't say you're serious, show it. Don't wait for momentum, create it. Don't hope for progress, earn it. And every day, wake up and decide again that you are the one who sets the tone, that you are the one who leads the direction, that your actions are the proof that change doesn't live in words, it lies in motion. And that motion starts with